Hi, and welcome to the 91 Day Success Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan, and today I am thrilled to have with me from LeadSnap, Jeff Howell. Jeff and I got to meet each other probably about a year ago, give or take, through a joint mastermind group that we're part of, and just have really enjoyed the opportunity to get to know Jeff a bit and learn about his business. And wanted to invite Jeff on today to share some more, as I think you will find it of great value as well. Jeff, for those that may not be familiar with you or LeadSnap, could you give us kind of a 30-second elevator pitch introduction to who you are?
Sure. Thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and speak with you. And yeah, I started out as an attorney actually in the real estate space. And once that kind of ended, I was looking for more ways to find freedom in my life and in my business and to have unlimited potential to earn and all of that. And I came across digital marketing and jumped in about 5 years ago. So through that process, I met Patrick Shannon, the founder of LeadSnap, and started working with him and his agency, and then helped him launch the software. And we've just been going gangbusters ever since then. So that's kind of my origin story.
Well, that's great. And one of the questions I was going to ask is, tell me, how do you go from real estate and law into digital marketing? Can you tell us what kind of motivated that shift when you did that? Was it truly just a desire to find more opportunity, or was there other things behind it that are interesting and our audience might be interested in?
Well, I've always been a big thinker, a big visionary type thinker. And when I was an attorney in corporate, I was working for a major company like top, Fortune 50, whatever.
Sure.
And I had all these big ideas, I was younger and green and all of that, but I had no filter. I was like emailing the
Yes.
C-suite and making connections with people in the C-suite and pitching my ideas, and was really big into deal pitching and all of these things, and kind of seeing the patterns and the landscape of where business was going and always looking to the future. So I was able to pitch projects that ended up allowing me to work for the company for much longer than I would have been able to otherwise. And they gave me budgets, they gave me team, they gave me all these things. So I was the quintessential entrepreneur, if you're familiar with that term.
Absolutely.
And it was amazing to cut my teeth as an entrepreneur with a paycheck, So I kind of got that, but it's also a little bit more, in your comfort zone once you get out into the real entrepreneurial space and you don't get that paycheck. But I mean, it was an amazing time, and I got to do just a lot of incredible things and really got a foundation of skills and, capabilities and just confidence around the ideas that I have and the ability to implement those ideas in real time. So that transition from being an entrepreneur to an entrepreneur was not a painless transformation, but it definitely suits me, and I'm grateful that I was able to make it. So it was like, it's less important to me about industry or title or specific job function. It's more about, am I able to go out there and have this bigger vision for what's possible and have the people around me, the business model around me, and all of that to implement it and actually get traction and start moving forward. That's what really jazzes me up.
Great background. I really appreciate that. And I find it super interesting because I did something similar about 20 years ago, stepped out of a corporate job as like you said, being the guy that probably upset the apple cart because I didn't necessarily follow all the rules, but was very successful for my employer, and then said, I can do this all on my own. And I'm hearing you say something similar, which was, I thought that transition from intrapreneur to entrepreneur was going to be easy because I knew everything. Of course, I was young and dumb at that time,
Right.
but it's been great, but it certainly wasn't always easy. And that kind of a lead into the next question. I know now, you and Patrick are really working and focused on helping digital agencies scale. And that, can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing at LeadSnap pertaining to that? And what does that look like? What are some of the challenges that you help these agencies overcome?
Sure. Well, Patrick has the specific insight into running a successful agency and then building the tools that he needed to scale. He's also a big visionary, and he sees the bigger possibilities, and he wants to execute those and implement those in real time. And he's relentless in doing that. So as he built his agency, he was like, well, I need this tool, I need this other tool, whatever it was. And they were all either clunky, overpriced, or didn't exist. So he started creating those as having some background in software engineering and just creating those tools in real time for his own agency. So it really allowed him to scale his own agency by streamlining process, providing the tools like the heat map GeoGrid functionality to be able to see ranking in real time, and to be able to implement strategies, take the data that he's getting from these tools and implement strategies. As we know, Google's a moving target, and all of that ranking is always going to be ever evolving. And to be able to see that data in real time and to be able to really innovate and implement these strategies to continuously rank, it's just, that's what it's all about. That's what LeadSnap was built for. And there's just a ton of different tools and data points that you get from the platform to be able to scale an agency. So it kind of covers all the bases from the local lead generation model.
Are there particular issues that you find agencies struggle with that make them a good fit for what you're doing at LeadSnap? Or based on what you have, do you find it's a good fit for most any digital agency that's out there based on the tools and the expertise that you guys are providing?
Sure. It's specifically built for local lead generation agencies. So if you're managing Google business listings, that is a really big hit point for the platform. Doesn't mean that there's not tools in there that you couldn't use if you weren't into local lead gen or Google business listings, but that is really, it was really built around that model. And now the business or the offer, I should say, is kind of expanding. And like, we're offering in Patrick's agency more of a holistic model where we have more SEO services and other management of the overall marketing for a company in place. But before, when we built it, it was more built around local lead gen specifically, and the rank and rent model. So, you know, any of that GMB management or Google business profile management is going to be a direct hit. But we also have a full phone system that rivals any other on the market. We have CRM to manage leads. We have extraordinary spam filters for form leads that come in, and we can eliminate just the vast majority of spam and make it so much better on your clients because they don't have to go and filter through those things manually. There's also a white label feature and functionality, and also some pretty great reporting that is in place there for agencies to use for their clients.
So many questions come to mind as you talk about that, Jeff. And obviously, even if you're not, you know, a local company, that local ranking still often very important, and your GMB
Right.
is always important regardless of that. One thing you talked about there that it really struck a nerve with me is, I know as an agency owner, you know, we're looking at reports and going, okay, here's how many leads we generated for you. And the common complaint from virtually every client is, yes, but X number were spam or X number were junk or whatever. And you mentioned you guys have got really good filtering on that. Can you talk to me a little bit more about that, and how does that help the agency with that common question? I've heard it from every agency owner I know that, you know, hey, we got you 76 leads last week, and the owner goes, yeah, but only 6 of them were any good.
Yeah.
How,
Yeah.
how,
Common.
how does LeadSnap help with that? And can you give us a little bit of insight into that filtering process to help protect both the agency and minimize the frustration on the client, obviously?
Yeah, sure. We're the spam filter specifically for the forms. The client's never even going to get those. So when you have
Gotcha.
all these form leads coming in that have URLs in them, or they're coming from, you know, people selling things and all that, and just filling the inbox with that, like, we can eliminate the vast majority of that through the spam filters themselves. So to start off, like, a lot of people that are emailing those in, you know, mass quantities from
Hmm.
foreign locations, they don't realize that in the US we don't really use a plus sign in front of our phone number. So
Right.
any form that's submitted with a plus sign, you can just completely wipe those out. So you can block them completely. We block everybody who's sending from any IP other than the US or Canada, because we're really not going to have customers that are
Sure.
submitting forms from any other location. So you cut out the vast majority of the other IPs in the world, and you have complete control over which countries are allowed and not allowed. So that's another way. There's also a keyword filter. So you could just filter out every form submission that is coming in with the word crypto or anything else that is relevant to you, your business, and your niche. You can just put that keyword in and it'll block any email that comes in with that keyword. You can also block by language. So if you have these emails coming in with Arabic or whatever other language that's filling your inbox, you can just block that completely. We also have specific email and domain blocking. Now, you wouldn't want to block gmail.com or something like
Sure.
that. But if you're finding a lot of spam email coming in from a specific domain, you can block it on a domain level, or you can block specific, like Gmail, for example. If it were Jonathan Mast at Gmail and I were getting spam from that person, I could just block that email independently of the domain. So you put all this stuff together, and it's like, it's hard for spam to get through when you have all that dialed in and in place.
Well, and obviously, again, a huge value, not only to the agency, but to their clients as well, because I know that frustrates clients when they get them, and it makes the agency look bad because the client's associating those poor leads, even though we know the agency had nothing to do with that crypto lead that came from Nigeria, but it doesn't matter. The client still gets frustrated in the process. So great system.
Yeah, it's an
that.
annoyance. And you think about it, like in our agency, I think we block about 30,000 spam form leads per month.
Wow.
That when Patrick was building the agency, realizing that we needed to go through each one of those independently and verify whether it's an actual lead or not. So we've had great success at blocking these spam forms, and then not really seeing any real leads getting through that gating process. It's such an amazing tool. It's such a time saver, and removes a lot of that annoyance on the client side. So that's for the form spams. Now on the call spam, like everybody's been dealing with that more and more over the last couple of years. I mean, we have spam calls coming in nonstop. So the IVR strategy works pretty well. And the way it's set up in the phone system in LeadSnap is that you have the IVR, and then when you go into the CRM part to see the calls that have come through, it'll say menu failed, meaning if it's a bot call and we have press 1 to connect to the estimator or something like that, the bot can't press 1 and it's just a menu failed. That's the way it's tagged in the system. So again, the client's not going to get that. Now, the other sort of side of what the question that you asked is that there are a ton of, I'd say most clients will come back and say, oh, well, I got 20 calls, but I only got 2 estimates. Well, at some point, the responsibility shifts from us providing the lead into them converting the lead, right?
Absolutely.
So we've been working a lot on, with our clients and just kind of on our own process and strategies, like how do we get them to be able to convert better so that those leads aren't going down the drain, because we spend a lot of time and energy and effort to generate those leads. And if our client, which is mostly contractors, they're just answering the phone and going, yeah, how's it going? And
yep, absolutely.
That's not the way you can do business these days. I think even just before the pandemic, you could get away with that. People just understood that contractors will be contractors, and that's the way they operate. And they're like, hey, I'm on a job site, I'll call you back later. And maybe they call back, maybe they don't. That dynamic, I think, has changed. People have shorter attention spans, certainly less patience for sure. And they don't want to be playing phone tag because they know how to use Google, and they know they can just go put in the search terms and find 10 other contractors that will answer the phone. So I think it's kind of become, over the last few years, more and more standard, if you will, that if you don't have somebody legit answering the phone by the second or third ring and taking some information and building that rapport with the potential customer right out of the gate, you're going to lose. And again, us working with mostly contractors and having so many of them not having those systems in place, how do we change the game? So we have an admin on our team that for certain contractors that need that service, we will offer that. Let us answer your calls for you. Let's buy back your time, the Dan Martell sense, if you've read that
Yep.
book.
Love it.
Let's sell it to our customers as, hey, let us help you buy back your time. So we would charge them a little bit extra per call for somebody on our team to answer the call, take all the information, and not set up the estimate, but at least build that sort of base level rapport with the potential customer so that they feel comfortable. They feel confident that they're being well taken care of, and those leads aren't falling down the drain. Because if they're just falling down the drain, we're not going to be able to charge for them. We're not going to get the value out of them. So that's been a real game changer over the last couple of years of seeing that dynamic and evolution of the market happen in real time.
Well, and I can see the huge value that that's going to bring to the clients, especially your home service sector clients, contractors, and people like that. That just this morning I was talking to one, and he's like, they run a landscaping and lawn care business, and he's like, yeah, when the phone rings, it comes through to me, and I mean to answer, but if I'm on a mower or I'm running an excavator or I'm doing this, I may or may not be able to take it. And I asked him, how does that work for you? And he goes, I know I lose deals because calls come in that I can't answer, and they're just going to call the next person on the list if I don't answer.
100%.
But he goes, if I'm in an excavator, I can't do it. And it's not a huge company. They've got a bunch of employees, but the owner is still very much involved in the day-to-day. And I think that's pretty typical for a lot of the local service companies that you're referring to. I can see that concierge model, so to speak, where your team's handling that makes a huge difference in conversion because of, again, that fact that I know even myself as a homeowner, as a property owner, if I call and need help and I feel like, okay, somebody answered my call, they're going to get back to me, I can now check that off my list and I can go on with my day. I don't have to call the next company on the list. But if I don't get that answer, or, the other thing I know that's always a struggle is if I don't get that response back in a timely manner. So like you mentioned, sometimes it transitions from getting the lead and the agency bringing that lead to the customer, and then the customer having the skill and the capability to actually close that, because maybe they need to follow up with it in the next business day or two, and they forget to for 2 or 3 weeks. We just went through this. Yeah, I just went through this personally. We were looking to have some work done in our offices, and I was in charge of finding the right person to do the work. Bunches of people said, "Oh yeah, we'd love to do the work for you." Probably had about a dozen companies that responded to a little post that I put out looking for somebody. Only 2 of them actually showed up in the next week to look at the project. And one of those that showed up never even called me back with a price until after the job was done. And he's like, oh yeah, I forgot to get you a price. Here's what my price is. I'm like, we did the job a week ago. Right. Oh, and I'm assuming that's probably not uncommon in a lot of the industry. So what a huge value that you can bring to your customers through that. Talk to me a little bit. Let's go back to, if I can, the Google business listing, because I know a lot of local service companies struggle with that as well. And some of them are listening as well as the agencies they work with. Do you have any insights as to, and I've got my opinions, but I'd love to hear yours, Jeff, as to why it's important that I always use the phrase, feed bananas to the 900-pound gorilla in the room. Google's that 900-pound gorilla. We've got to cooperate and make them happy in order to get more leads coming through. But I know a lot of business owners find it frustrating. Like, why do I have to do this? And why do I have to do that? Can you share some insights as to the value that brings to a business owner in an online infrastructure that is so dominated by Google?
Wow. Well,
I know there's a bunch of questions in there. Any one of them is fine.
Well, I would just say, being in the map pack with your Google listing is, it's essential to really dominating a location or niche. It's just really difficult to get enough calls just off of a website, even if you're ranking on the first page of Google. You really need that business listing to be in the map pack, or 3-pack as we call it, right? I think You could probably guess at the percentage of calls that come out of that 3-pack. I've heard 70% of the calls come off of the 3-pack. And to go back to the prior part of the conversation, it's like the smart consumer, I think, is going to do a little shopping around. But I think 3 is the number, right? I don't know how many contractors you tried to call, but nobody has the bandwidth or the patience to call 10 different people.
Exactly.
Of course, if 7 of them don't answer, that's a different story. But to actually talk through, vet them out, get an estimate, I think 3 is a solid.
I agree.
You know,
Yeah.
so those are the 3 in the map pack, right? And though, you know, that's going to give you so much more exposure to be able to get a shot and a crack at that opportunity than being, you know, so much further down the list. Because if you're in the map pack, the contractors that are in the map pack, I mean, they're probably going to answer the phone because they have the infrastructure in place. That's why they're ranking, because they are a top listing. That's why they're getting good reviews, because they have great process. That's why they have fully optimized Google listing, because they're paying attention, right? And if they're paying attention to that and putting forth the effort to be in the map pack, they're probably going to, not always, but they're probably going to answer the phone and have some process in place to sort of white glove that consumer into an estimate and hopefully into a closed deal. So I think the value of being, you know, ranking as high as you possibly can in the Google listings is just essential for a company that wants to grow. And those are the types of contractors that we want to work with. You know, obviously not everybody in the contracting space is a real business owner. Not everybody has the skills or abilities to actually run a company that's doing significant numbers, a contracting company. I mean, it's the same as in the agency world. Not everybody has that, right? So we want to identify the people that are already in that mindset, that have a big vision for their company, that are willing to do the work to get enough of those skills in place and processes in place to have a real business. Because if we're feeding them 10, 20 leads a month and they're kind of like, okay, I can handle that. But then what happens when we start ranking more? What happens when we really implement our strategies and they're getting 100 calls a month? Then what? Do they just not answer the phone 80% of the time? Sometimes that happens because they're just like, you know, they have such an abundance of leads, like they don't have the skills to really hire another crew and run another crew or delegate in the way that you need to scale a contracting company. So they just let those leads go to waste, you know, and that's not the type of contractor we want to work with, obviously. But, you know, there's a lot wrapped up into that question, but I guess the bottom line is that the better you're ranking across a geographical area, the more calls you're going to get, the more opportunities you're going to get. And then it does come down to, are you able to scale? Are you able to get that next crew? Are you able to, you know, sort of put the processes in place to be able to handle that business? So that's what I'm saying on that.
No, and I appreciate that explanation. I think that really helps a lot and really helps explain that. I know part of the LeadSnap service is providing heat map services to the agency so that they can see how that works. Can you talk about how those heat maps provide value to the agencies, Jeff?
Sure. Well, in the early days, before the heat map solution was in place, it would be going through and trying to pick out different locations on a map and see what, you know, in real time, like running a Google search and seeing where you're ranking. But it's really difficult to put that pin in a specific place. It's sort of like general, you're trying to see what your ranking is in, you know, Plano, Texas, for example, where I grew up, and that's a bigger city. So where, like, if you're going to one of the other solutions or even just Google to see where you rank, like, where exactly is that pin in Plano? Where are they anchoring that search from? We don't even know. So the heat map allows you to see where the rankings are sitting in very specific geolocations within a certain distance from each other, a half a mile, a couple of miles, 5 miles, so that you can see in the area exactly where you're ranking across Plano or across whatever geo area that you choose. And you can put it in a square, you can carve it out if there's like forest area or water or something like that. You don't really care how you're ranking in, in a lake, because there's probably not many people out on their
Sure.
fishing boat searching for you. So you can kind of cut that out and then really see with great clarity how you're ranking in these very specific geolocations, so that you can implement very specific strategies to be able to rank better. And the biggest opportunities are where you're ranking in 4th or 5th or 6th position, because it doesn't take that much to kick you up in that specific location into the map pack. And ranking in the top 3 is what's going to get you in the map pack. So the value of that data from a strategy standpoint is incredible.
Oh, absolutely. I can see working with clients that provide a huge insight and a lot of value then the agency can bring to their clients as well, and identifying those, like you said, that are in maybe position 4 through 6 and taking that nudges to get them back up into the map pack in those areas.
That's
I
right.
know one of the other things you guys talk about a lot at LeadSnap, and I know Patrick and I talked about this over dinner a couple months ago, was how LeadSnap really consolidates a number of tools for the agencies and allows them to have one tool as opposed to, I'm going to throw a number out there, 75 others, and that may not be accurate.
Right.
But talk to me a little bit about the LeadSnap platform overall and some of the tools that it helps agencies consolidate by just working with one tool that they get to use.
Sure. Well, I think going back to when Patrick was scaling his agency and kind of looking at the tools out there, it's like they either clunky, don't exist, overpriced. So that's
Yep.
sort of the what exists in the market, or what existed in the market. So then it's like, how do you cobble all of these solutions together to make them work? And you have Zapier and whatever, all this stuff. If then that,
Yep.
or whatever, like
Yep.
all of these things that you have to do to try to get the data to talk to each other and to present it in a way that's going to be relevant to you, so that you can look at it and maybe have a dashboard that's going to make sense to you, that's going to give you that insight so that you can take action right away. So what LeadSnap has done is basically put all of these tools together in one place with all of the data coherent and consistent on the back end, so that you don't have to have any of these other solutions cobbling it together. So the CRM part of it is really big, because you have calls and form submissions coming in. And if you're running any kind of a solid agency, you might have 100 leads a day, or 1,000 leads a
Sure.
day, or 5,000 or 10,000. That gets pretty cumbersome if you're trying to do anything manual, or you're trying to do something where you're doing Zapier or something like that, and
Oh,
trying to
absolutely.
lead somewhere. So the CRM part of it gives you the ability to set up each one of your clients or lead generation properties as a separate company under or in the account rather, so that that's completely searchable by either the company you've set it up under, the specific phone numbers that you're generating leads through, which is, as you know, it could be numerous just under one
Sure.
project. You could have 5, 10, 20 phone numbers under there. So it gives you the ability to really get granular into the CRM part. Then the other side of that is like, okay, well, once you get all these leads in, how are you following up? So there's reputation management that's integrated in there. And again, you already have it set up under the companies, so you can create specific automation flows and texting, so that your clients have the ability to give their customers a link to go and provide that review. You can also upload past customer databases and create a sequence of emails and texts to go out and request reviews on specific Google properties. So the reputation management part of it is where you're going to be able to get that kind of follow-up from the system. And then obviously you have the heat maps, like we just talked about, all of the Google listings that, you can do a heat map through LeadSnap on any Google business profile. You just put the link in. It doesn't have to be your own. It doesn't have to be in the LeadSnap system. You can do it just with the link. But the ones that are in there and being managed through LeadSnap, the benefit, one of the main benefits of that, in my opinion, is not only is everything integrated together, but you also have the ability to offer and grant user access. So that could be a client that obviously you're not going to give them access to go in and modify the Google business profile, but you can give them access to go in and look at the ranking, the data, the calls that are coming in through the CRM, et cetera. But from a GMB or GBP management standpoint, you can give, say, a virtual assistant the access to certain very specific Google business profiles in the system. So it's not grant one, grant all. It's very specific by company and by Google business profile. And then when they log in, they're logging into LeadSnap. They're not logging into the Google business profile. So you don't have all this mess with foreign IPs logging into the Google Gmail that is managing that Google business profile. So you don't have all of that sort of, I guess, questionable funny business going on with IPs and all that, because everything's managed right in LeadSnap. So that is, and you don't give them direct access where they could maybe run off with the the GBP if they wanted to. So there's a lot of benefits with that kind of keep you off of the radar, off of Google's radar, and protect your own properties from maybe some VAs that might have malintent or something like that.
I love that feature. I know so many agencies are using VAs and things like that, and it's an ongoing issue to, whether they're from the Philippines or they're from Central America or wherever else, to deal with those IP issues. And what a great way to bring that in and provide an additional level of protection and control to the agencies. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. And then with the Google Business Profile Management, you can schedule posts over time.
Okay.
So that's a huge benefit, time saver. I mean, a lot of these tools, I think, in LeadSnap, like if you have a VA that's handling, these very specific tasks, some of these things were created to eliminate the need to have a VA. Like, you could eliminate a few VAs just by creating the processes within LeadSnap for posting on GBPs, for example, and setting up those scheduled posts. You can have media drips where you could upload 100 photos into LeadSnap and geotag them and then put them on a drip schedule so that, say, there's 5 a week for 20 weeks. So you don't have to worry about that again for 20 weeks.
Wow, that's amazing.
All kinds of things like that streamline the process of sort of the grunt work behind keeping a listing relevant, keeping it active, keeping something happening on the Google listing.
Wow, that's amazing. The other thing I want to ask about is I saw on the LeadSnap site, and I don't know about this, but I was very intrigued, was LeadSnap University. Can you talk to me a little bit about what that brings to the agencies and what LeadSnap University is?
Yeah, sure. We have the coaching library, it's called, in the LeadSnap system that is free with any subscription. So what we've done is we've been doing calls into our Facebook group every Wednesday for a couple of years now. So we went and edited out sort of the best of that content. Patrick just riffing on all kinds of things about how he built his agency, the strategies that he's using from an SEO standpoint, from ranking Google business listings, from client management to sales to prospecting, all of these different categories, and backlinking, everything you can think of that has to do with this lead generation model. And we've chopped those videos up into more precise segments and organized it within the system so that you can go search any topic that may be relevant to you in the moment and pull up maybe 2, 5, maybe even 10 really specific targeted videos that Patrick has created that really speak to that issue in the moment. So that's just sort of a bonus that we offer to any of our users to be able to go in and have that at their fingertips to see, how does Patrick do it? How does Patrick think about this issue? what are the strategies that he uses in real time. And it just makes it really simple to, obviously we want people to come into the system and stay in the system. So if they have a question about some specific aspect of lead generation, you don't need to go and search it on YouTube or whatever. It's right there in the coaching library for you.
Huge value. And I also want to comment that your coaching calls that you guys offer and do on a regular basis, again, a huge value to an agency. Creating a community, creating that connectivity. I know you guys just recently had, was it in Orlando or Tampa? I know you guys just a couple months ago had a huge event down there at some beautiful resort. And I was not able to make that one, but that was, I think that's just so amazing that it's not just software. Really, when you get part of that LeadSnap family, it seems like there's so much more that comes with it than just the software. And I think that's just a huge part of the value that you guys bring to the table. So kudos on that.
Yeah, thank you. That event was in Orlando. We did one in February in Miami, and then we did one at the end of July in Orlando, just outside of Orlando. We rented this amazing mansion, like 20-bedroom mansion. It was like 20,000 square feet and just decked out with everything. It had a amazing pool with a big screen, to watch things by the pool. It had a lazy river and all these things. We had about maybe 40 people show up, and then another 20 with staff and speakers. We had amazing speakers, and man, we had a blast. We just really enjoyed connecting, and like you said, build that community around us. And just people were so grateful to be able to participate in something like that and feel welcome, feel like, I think that's one of Patrick's, big things is that, the other masterminds that maybe he's been to in the past, like people are really tight-lipped about what's working for them and they're not willing to share. And the main premise of our community is that everybody shares, like there's enough for everybody. We're abundant.
Absolutely.
People say, oh, is lead generation saturated? It's like, no, because there are so many companies out there that need what we have to offer, and they just don't have any idea. Like they're out there pouring concrete or hammering nails or roofing, whatever they're doing. Like I know I can't be a lead generator and a roofer. It's not possible. Well, the same is true for them. They can't be a roofer and a lead generator. If they're going to do it at any kind of higher level, they're going to need somebody like us with our expertise to come in and to help them run these systems. And it's ever evolving. The game changes constantly. That's one of the things I love about it, is just constantly, strategizing and innovating on the model to see what's working today. I know it a lot of people get discouraged by Google shaking things up. Well, that's business, right? And any business, Coca-Cola and Pepsi have been battling it out for decades, right? It's like, who's the best? It's like, there's always going to be change. Like that's just business. So the environment that we've created in our community is more open book. If you're not willing to share and you're just going to be a taker, then that's just not going to be a good fit for us. We want people who are going to come in and say, hey, this little tweak over here is working for me. You put it together with this little tweak over here, and you've got some magic that maybe nobody else has thought of or nobody else is implementing, and you get those advantages out of that. So, Patrick and I are involved in a number of different masterminds. Some of them you're involved with as well, Jonathan. Yep. Some of them you aren't. But I just find that, especially like running a SaaS company and being involved in the SaaS world, there are opportunities to partner with other SaaS companies that really provide a lot more value for our user base. And that's a mutual benefit there, that, nobody who's just a lead generator would be in those masterminds. It has no relevance to them, but inevitably there's always somebody who has some, huge value that they can offer to our community. So we often bring them in as speakers or even partnerships. We have a deal with Rootzilla right now, which is a software platform for actually scheduling estimates seamlessly on contractors' calendars. And they have the ability to put the blue button ranking, or not ranking, but booking button on a Google business profile. And so we're working with them and integrating that into our offer and our systems, because these things, like I say, you go back to the innovation part of it, because that's what I love. It's like, how do you get the attention of a contractor in today's world, right? It's like so many people. How many times have you gotten a call? Is this, I need to talk to the business owners. Am I talking to the business owner? Like
Yep.
that shtick, the ship on that sailed, a long
Long
time.
ago. Yeah.
You're still trying to do that. Like, you're not going to get very far, right? So how do you create something that distinguishes you from everybody else? How do you lead with a conversation that they haven't heard before? And these types of offers from an entry level give you that ability to kind of distinguish yourself and be that kind of interrupter in their world, where they're like, holy crap, like I haven't seen that before. I haven't heard of that. Like, this is unique. And then you can get them in. Once you get the conversation going, then you can get them to trust you and convert them into not only as a client for that service, but then you can just build onto those services. So that overall community that we're creating is really based on bringing the cutting edge
Yep.
solutions, cutting edge opportunities, and building that community where everybody trusts each other enough and enjoys each other's company enough to come and spend time with each other and really build real relationships. Because it can be isolating working as a digital entrepreneur, and a
Sure.
lot of people are traveling around a lot, or having that lifestyle. We really want to also focus on creating that lifestyle business that gives you the freedom of time and resources to be able to go and travel and do the things that you want to do. But then if you don't have the community around you, then who are you going to share those wins with? Who are you going to maybe partner with to create different things and be able to live that lifestyle of freedom that you're really looking for ultimately? Because nobody wants to sit around doing backlinks. That's not why we're in the business, right?
Exactly. No, I couldn't agree with you more. Well, Jeff, one of the things we talk about here, the name of the podcast is the 91 Day Success Podcast. And it's because lots of entrepreneurs, lots of agency owners, people like that are listening. And if most entrepreneurs have a business idea every at least couple days, if not more often. And so one of the things we love to ask is, if you were in the position to start a new business and you had $1,000, that's all you had. You had your life taken care of. You don't have to worry about food and shelter, but you had $1,000, and the goal was to build a business that'd be capable of generating $10,000 a month in revenue over the first 91 days or 3 months. Jeff, as an entrepreneur yourself and a business owner, obviously with your unique background, any thoughts that you have of what you might do in a situation like that if you were presented with it? No right or wrong answer, but we love to get some perspective. Any thoughts?
Sure. Well, I think I'm blessed because I was never a sales guy before that I got into digital marketing, and I was blessed to be kind of like pushed into a situation where I had to go into sales, and I was able to build that skill set, very quickly, because I had no choice. I
Sure.
kind of came in and got upside down in some stuff that I was doing, and I was really forced to sell, and I did really, really well at it. And so having that skill set alone is worth the price of admission, I think, because you can take that skill set and do pretty much anything with it. So if having those sales skills and having $1,000, then it's like, okay, well, how do I create some partnerships with a fulfillment team so that I can sell specific services? So that's just a sales approach.
That's great.
Having that skill set is so valuable. Now I know I could sell, as long as the product and the team behind it has integrity. I could sell anything that I believe in.
Sure.
So knowing that going forward, that's always, I always have that to fall back on. And I highly, recommend to anybody who's in the digital marketing or agency world to find the opportunity to build that skill set, because it gives me so much confidence and, I guess, a sense of security that what if everything blew up tomorrow and, I wasn't working with LeadSnap or anything like that. I know I could go start selling a product tomorrow. And I got that skill set specifically just from being in digital marketing. So that's how I would do that. But if I had $1,000 to kind of build a company
Yep.
around me, I would want to really hone in what is going to be my offer. Is it going to be strictly lead gen? We're kind of moving away from that model just because Google's shaking it up a lot. I think
Sure.
you could really do that model successfully, maybe 2015 to 2021 or so. Like that was the real heyday of just put up a website, put up Google listings, generate leads, and put it on not passively autopilot, but with some
Yeah.
lower level management, you could do that. But I think the market has changed enough that not to say that it's not possible, it can still be done. But if you're going to scale an agency, I think that having all of your eggs in that one Google basket is risky, and
Sure. Makes sense.
we've experienced that as well. The other side of that, when the shoe drops, you lose clients and all of that. So that's why we've expanded our offer. So I think honing in the offer and saying, what is it that I'm going to offer? Am I going to offer some smaller service? And this is kind of the direction that we're going, is to get that first connection point, like I'm saying, to distinguish yourself. So what is it going to be? Is it going to be offering sort of these estimation scheduling services? Is it going to be reputation management? Is it going to be website services or GBP management? What is that smaller service that you can get out in front of that client and build the relationship? Because that's what people want nowadays. You have to build that rapport and trust so that you can create that relationship. So I would really hone in on what that offer would be, and I would pick one of those, services to lead with, so that I could get out in the market, and I would put all of my effort towards that, start creating these relationships, and then building more and more onto that. I know people who manage GBPs for people in very competitive niches, and they charge hundreds of dollars a month. It doesn't take many clients to add up to 10K a month. So if you
That's
were
true.
charging $500 a month, even, which is very doable for a contractor, they're not gonna. I mean, it's not $3,500 a month. It's 500. Let
Right.
me manage your GBP. Let me maybe do a couple of other things for you to offer you value. And 20 clients later, you're at 10K a month, right? So
Exactly.
20 clients is not that hard to manage. There's not that much cost if you set up systems and you have tools like LeadSnap to help you manage all of it, and you have a few VAs. Like, you could probably run a pretty high profit margin off of that type of business. And if I were starting over today with $1,000 in my pocket, that's probably the direction I would go. I think that just going in and saying, hey, Google bases their ranking at least to some degree, and probably a high degree, how many relevant and qualified reviews that you have. Let me go in
Yes.
to get your prior list of clients. Let me work on generating as many reviews for you as I possibly can off of your prior list. I think that service alone, and managing the GBP for $500 a month, get 20 of those. I mean, I could probably have 20 of those in 2 or 3 weeks, and get that up and
Exactly.
running, and then just build on it from there.
Well, I think that's fantastic advice, and really practical and down to earth too, Jeff. I appreciate that. I totally agree with what you're saying. I think that's a great way to do it. And I want to commend you and Patrick on being nimble enough to see the changes that Google's making, and obviously then leaning into other strengths that you guys have to really add tons of value to the agencies that you guys serve. Just huge value there. If
Yeah.
we've got
Well, I
somebody
mean,
listening to, go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, anytime that these shakeups happen, it shakes out the people who are less committed. Like, we're in this to win this. Patrick's been in this business for 8 or 9 years now, and has been running the agency and the software and whatnot. And I've been in for 5 years. It's like, this is what we do. This is what brings that excitement to the community as well, because we're committed to this. We're going to make it work. This is our
Yep.
business, and we're going to stay in it for the long haul. So we're not going to get shaken out just because Google tweaks a dial in their algorithm or something like that. It's like, all right, well, we're gonna stay up to date on everything and keep pushing on the cutting edge of it.
No, it makes tons of sense. If we've got agency owners that are listening, sometimes maybe they're in their car, they're not watching the video, they're listening to the podcast. What's the best way for them to reach out to you and Patrick at LeadSnap? I know the website's super easy. It's just leadsnap.com, but are there other things you'd recommend if you've got agencies that are interested in learning more about how you guys can help them scale?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like you said, Jonathan, leadsnap.com is probably the best way to get in touch with us. We have demos on there. We have Google Business Profile ranking playbook that you can download off of the website. If you go into the chat bot, and that's not a bot, the chat bubble, I mean, at the lower right of the screen, you can contact somebody on our team right away. A lot of times, if they're available, they can jump right on a call with you right there. We also have a Facebook group, the LeadSnap Facebook group. If you just look it up on Google, you'll find it, and you can submit your information, and then I'll approve you into the group. We do calls into the group every Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m. Central. So that's another way to get access to us. And then we also have a coaching program that we started we launched it at the Miami Mastermind in February, and it's called Rank Masters. So rankmasters.com. So we offer a higher level SEO scaling and agency kind of an offer there for the community that most of the people in the program have been with us for a while, and we've created that kind of like higher level, tighter knit inner circle community there with Rank Masters. So all of those ways are ways to get in touch with us.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate that. And let me encourage you, if you're an agency owner and you're wondering about a way to scale and you're looking for that, and any of this stuff that Jeff's talking about appeals to you, I know Jeff and Patrick, they are great guys. They've run a great company and just a tremendous amount of expertise. And one of the things I do love about them is that abundance mentality. And as Jeff talked earlier, it's so important to surround yourself with people that are willing to share their successes with you, because it shortens your journey tremendously. And it's just an immense value. So if you've been listening to us on the podcast, I want to thank you as always. Please hit that subscribe button so you get to hear about all of our weekly episodes. But every Friday at 10 o'clock, we release one, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys on the other side. Thanks so much for joining us. And Jeff, thank you so much for your time today. I greatly appreciate it.
One last thing. Please. If you come onto the LeadSnap platform, you get a 7-day free trial. And we'd love for you to come on and kind of check out the tools and how it compares to the tools that you're using. Like we mentioned earlier, the LeadSnap platform eliminates a number of different tools that you might be cobbling together and right now and trying to create a solution that we already have. And we continuously put in new features and data points that are easily accessible within dashboards and different things like that, so that it really makes it simple to go in and get the information that you're looking for, as far as like how you're ranking versus your phone calls, what asset is producing the most volume of calls and form submissions and different things, just like right in a dashboard that is fully customizable. So yeah, come on in and check us out, and we'd love to show you a demo and get you on board.
Huge value. Thank you for mentioning that. And what an incredible offer. A week of free trial just to check it out and see how it works. That's a great offer, Jeff. Thank you so very much for that.
Thanks for having me, Jonathan. I appreciate you.
All right, everybody have a wonderful day. Thanks so much.
Take care.